What is up, guys? Welcome to episode 5 of the podcast. Today we are talking about how to sell stuff. So where to sell it. Are you going to sell in galleries? Are you going to sell online? Are you going to sell at markets? Are you going to sell in retail stores? Are you going to sell, all things selling? So business aspect, we'll talk a lot about pottery because that's what we like to sell. But we also sell, I own 4 coffee shops. We sell coffee beans. We're just bringing our coffee beans online next week. So lots of different ways that we can talk our way around what's best, or what's the advantages and disadvantages to certain things. So today we're drinking the house blend medium roast, but it's made with an espresso shot as an Americano. So just like pottery, there's a million variations on coffee as well. How you grind it, how you brew it, the roast, how you roast it. So my mug today is just out of the kiln, a gas-fired Pete's Cranberry over Galactic Indifference that I made, that we have for sale on our Etsy shop. And this weekend we have holiday sales at the studio. So if you're around and you want to come check it out, Friday 4 to 7, Saturday 11 to 3, the next 2 weekends will be open hours in the studio. Kai, what mug are you drinking out of?
This is your soda-fired mug.
Soda-fired mug.
Hey, I want to show that off.
Yep.
With the same Americano?
Yeah, Americano, house blend. So this is a soda-fired piece that we came out of the soda kiln recently. What do you think of the coffee?
It's good. I like the espresso. It's just like nice and it's like bitter, but it's like also smooth at the same time.
Yeah, I think this is my favorite way to drink coffee.
Yeah.
Is espresso shot with hot water.
Well, and it's just like there's like nothing like cream or sugar in it. It's just like straight up. It feels clean. Just
straight up black. So we're working on a bunch of random stuff. Not mugs. Done a ton of mugs recently. So we got pitchers, jars, vases. Pretty much all this stuff will be for sale in the next weekend holiday studio sale. Yeah. So that's the studio sale. I'll just start by talking about that because it's a brand new idea for me. We have this big pottery event every August, and it's like one of our biggest sales every year. I sell more pottery at this pottery sale in August than anywhere else, basically. And so I was like, well, why don't I just open up my studio and do that, but closer to the holidays when people are really looking for gifts and open up the studio, because that's why we designed the studio the way we did, is to double as also a gallery, kind of like it's nice. It's got good shelving and lighting and heat. It's very nice and warm in here. So yeah, so I guess we could talk about a big overview. Why don't you do that?
Yeah, I think we're just going to talk about the different ways of selling. Like, obviously, you sell a lot online in your coffee shops at the pottery event, in-person events. But maybe talking about different, like, maybe art markets, selling in actual galleries. And maybe just some, like, odd and end stuff, just, like, custom orders, commissions, like, affiliate links. Yeah. Kind of getting a little further from actually selling the pottery, but still a business aspect of that. So maybe you just want to start first how you sell like online in the coffee shops and wherever else, in-person events.
Yeah, I mean, basically in my head, there's like 3 ways to sell: direct to consumer, online, retail. Well, no, that's not really true. I'm trying to oversimplify it. But yeah, basically I sell in 3 different ways, right? Online, through the Etsy shop. And then eventually we'll go online. Mocha has a website coming out really soon that will have some pottery on there as well. So that's like online. And then I sell in-store at Mocha at the coffee shops. And that is about a third. And then I sell at events, like special events like the pottery event or Art Wander or other stuff like that. So for me, it's like a third. And that works really well. But if you're not like me, that you own a coffee shop, then you could think about, shops where you could go in. But then, you have to give up 30% or 40% or a gallery or something like that.
Yep.
And so those are the 3 big ways that I sell pottery. you've went to a lot of markets this year, so you have more experience with that. You want to talk about your market experience?
Yeah, it's different. I mean, there's a lot of other things you have to account for, like the actual booth fees that they're charging you for actually setting up where they're hosting this and marketing for it. So you don't have to take care of the marketing aspect or any of that type of thing, but in return you're paying them for that. So if that's something that makes it worth it for you, then that's great. But they're also super hit and miss. Like some will be great, some will be very slow. Just kind of depends on like how big the market is or where it's located. Like the weather is a big thing. So it's just like a lot of variables to it, just like with anything else, but just kind of a totally different, like you don't really do a ton of those art markets or any of them at all, really.
No.
So,
The way that I've really set up is that the coffee shop gets a lot of eyeballs through it, so I like to have constant pottery rotating through there. But then, the market thing, because it is so hit or miss, because it is really time consuming, because it is a lot of setup and takedown, I would rather not do that. But like there's people that just crush it, like RD Ceramics. I know he does a ton of markets, and he's done them for years where he knows which ones are going to be really good.
Right.
And that's probably what the point that you'll get to.
Exactly. Figuring out which ones are good, which ones aren't. Because
Right,
some of them are really like art based, where there's a lot of artists there, and some of them are kind of like almost flea markety. Like they'll be people who just do kind of, I don't know, those like metal tumblers. They'll engrave them with their Cricut machine, which
Right. Not
is
really
more
handmade.
It's more of a craft than an art, I guess, if you really want to get into that. But it's so. Yeah, figuring out where the best markets are is for sure a big thing with those.
Yeah, so I think another thing to think about there's so many things to think about with each area, right? So we can start with online, right? So if you're thinking about selling online, like the easiest place to start is Etsy, right? Mm-hmm. Or even easier than that, I guess, would be to like throw it up on your social media and just have somebody like Venmo you or pay you. That would be the easiest.
Right.
But I mean, either way, whichever way you want to think about it, if you go online, you got to have people following you to make sales, right?
Yep.
Like you can't just throw stuff up on Etsy and expect anything, really.
Right.
There's so many people that like start on Etsy and then are disappointed 6 months later because they've made no sales.
Right. Yeah, we kind of talked about that last episode or 2 episodes ago. Like you still have to funnel, and like that's the marketing aspect of it.
Right.
Like, there's going to be the trade-offs between the art markets where you don't really have to market if you don't want to, but then you're going to have to go and set up everything. But if you do it online, you have to take pictures of everything, have a following, market yourself. So,
or if you want to sell in stores, in galleries where they already have customers, then you're going to have to give up some of the money aspect. You have to give up a percentage, right?
Right. Yeah.
So online is definitely the most efficient and way to make the most profit. But it's probably the hardest.
Right.
Don't you think?
Yeah. Yeah, you have to have your base of people or customers.
Or you have to have something really, really unique that other people don't have, which is really hard to do when you're talking about how many other people there are. Or you have to pay for it. Like you have to buy ads.
Right. Yes.
Which is not something that I have a ton of experience in, but I would like to try it. Because obviously there's the customer acquisition cost, so you know that if you spend $100 on ads, then you'll do $150 in sales or whatever.
Right.
Like there's that part of it too.
Yeah, and like because there's like that the consignment gallery part you were talking about is like galleries will most of the time take upwards of 50% or 40, 50, 60%.
Right. Oh yeah.
So
then you either have to decide like, are you willing to take that haircut on your price, or is it viable for you to up your price that much?
Right. Yeah, so that's kind of why I do markets right now. That just seems like the most efficient for where I am in my career, I guess.
Yeah.
But I would love to get to the point where you are just selling online. It makes it easier. Like there's still obviously work to do with it, but Just makes it a little easier. You don't have to pack up your car and go places.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was the other thing I was just going to talk about with selling? So online, pros and cons to that. So in-store, pros and cons to you got to give up.
Well, and
What was I
then
just going to say? Go ahead.
custom orders and commissions, stuff like that. Yeah.
So taking custom orders, commissions, that could either be big corporate clients like that want their custom logo on a mug. That's a really common one. Or it could just be like people that want a turtle house or custom dinnerware set, which are all things that we've both done for people.
Right.
A lady came to one of my events this year and she wanted me to make basically a big upside down bowl for her turtle that her turtle could like climb in. But I forgot to write down her contact information, so I have no idea where she is. So I never got around to making her turtle house, which was a huge bummer. But yeah, the custom order thing is hard, and I stayed away from that for many years because you just never really know. It's hard because people have this like sense of like it's paint or something where you just mix a little more white in and it makes it a little lighter, and then you change the color a little bit, and that's not hard, that's not easy to do in clay. And every time you do it, you need to fire it, and then you're using clay, you're using energy. So the testing aspect makes custom. So people have to really understand if you're going to do custom orders that the piece may not come out exactly like they have it in their head, right?
Yeah, and then it's like kind of a balance between if you really want to, like if someone asks you for a really obscure thing, like whether or not you actually want to make that type of thing. And then, because then there's the chance of maybe more people want it, and then pretty soon you're just making whatever, a random thing that you never really wanted to make in the first place.
Right, you have to weigh that with custom orders. Like how much do you want to be making what you want to make versus how much do you want to just be, I'm walking away from my mic, how much do you want to be like making whatever the market wants, because then you're making cheap mugs all the time, or cups or whatever.
But I mean, the trade-off is that you have a for sure client that's going to buy something with your custom order, or you make what you want and maybe test the waters a little bit.
Yeah.
Like generally you'll have a pretty good idea of what will sell and what won't sell.
Right. And what we do in here is some of both, right? I price it high enough on the custom orders that we're not inundated with them all the time. Because if you get down to that like $14, $15 a mug range, then you are competing with the big guys, and they're cranking out, 1 million mugs a year. That's not even like an exaggeration.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's why we only do like maybe 1 or 2 bigger custom orders.
Right. Because we get inquired a lot, and then I throw them a price, and it's usually too much for most people. But then every once in a while, we get some that are fine with it, and that's great.
Which is kind of like we just found where we fit in the marketplace, where we're not selling the cheapest mug, but it's still a handmade, custom order.
Right.
There's always a balance to everything.
Always a balance.
Sure.
Do you have that stamp?
Yep. So then kind of had on about the Amazon third party, like maybe a more affiliate. If you wanted to hit on that.
Yeah. So I mean, Amazon is a huge thing now. So it doesn't really work for businesses like this where we're making such like unique individual things. But the coffee beans, we're bringing those online very soon, and that's something where if you can make a lot of things, you can put them on Amazon. And then Amazon will put them on their shop, and you can really just skyrocket your business. I know a couple businesses that the majority of their sales are through Amazon. And I haven't explored exactly all of that, but there are other retailers like that you can get into. But Amazon's obviously the biggest.
So you would potentially you could list your coffee beans on there to sell to a wider audience.
Yes. So then we'd have an Amazon shop, and then Amazon would manage everything for us. They would just come basically pick up, 2,000 bags of coffee every month or whatever they get to. Mm-hmm. And then that would be, a huge part of the business. So that's something that we probably will explore in next year. I have a couple contacts for people that can help out with stuff like that. I don't know how good of an idea that is or not.
Yeah.
But I've heard of just businesses that just blow up doing that, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's the same thing with Etsy. I mean, you can, but obviously it's way bigger than Etsy. You can just go on there and everyone uses Amazon, it seems like. So
Right.
you got a big customer base with a product that a lot of people will hopefully want. So then it's like kind of a no-brainer, seems like.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, selling online, I mean, one thing about selling online that we didn't talk about was like, can you do your own website versus Etsy? And obviously, if you can do your own website, it's better. You're going to keep more of your money, but it's just a lot of work and there is some expense involved when you're talking about starting a website.
Right. Yeah, so you sell on Etsy for pottery right now, but then now you're transitioning to having your own website for Mocha Monkey, not necessarily the pottery, but
Right.
what's your thoughts on Etsy versus the website, even though the website's not live right now? But,
Yeah, but next week should be.
so what's your thoughts on that, having your
Well,
own website versus Etsy as of right now?
I mean, I know the theory is that when you're selling on Etsy that you're not selling to your own customers. Like you don't own those customers. Etsy doesn't allow you to like take their emails and use them. So if you want recurring revenue, people like coming back, access to an email list of people that have bought from you or that have subscribed to your email list, then you can't be on Etsy. You have to be on your own site. And so that's a little scary. You know, we've had 6,000 sales or something on Etsy, which is 6,000 people that I could be reaching out to if they would have bought on my own website, but I can't access them now because they were through Etsy. They were through their Etsy's customers. They're not my customers. So now how big of a detriment is that? You know, at the time, if I would have been like, nope, I'm not selling until I get my own website up, well, I might have given up 6 months of sales, which at the time of that happening, it was a ton. So that's where it's always like, what are you giving up by doing something else? And for me at the time, to start my own website, I would have been giving up time selling on Etsy when I was really growing quickly on YouTube. So, but now through Mocha Monkey, since we're starting the roasting project, trying to get that up and running online, it really feels like the right time. And then I am going to put some pots on Mocha Monkey's website and then just kind of test that out and then continue to use Etsy. But if it seems like it'd be easy enough to switch everything over to the Mocha Monkey website, then I might as well do that. So yeah, we'll see.
Makes sense.
Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. Etsy, I mean, I have stuff live right now, and it's like always kind of a bummer. Like looking at the actual transaction of like you're losing this amount in fees and like this amount in shipping. Like there are those fees and shipping and even like the transactional fees that not just Etsy but just card fees or whatever.
Right. Which you lose some of that no matter what, right? I
Right.
But like even on your own website, you have to pay credit card fees. You have to pay subscription for whoever's hosting.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Even in like in-person stuff, you have to pay for card fees, whatever. But I don't know. It's almost a little more satisfying to me. Like I'm retaining more of that money in-person events because I don't have to worry about shipping. I don't have to worry about Etsy taking anything.
Right.
So, but then you also obviously have the ability to sell to more people online. I don't know. It's just.
Yeah.
It's just there's not a right answer. I feel like.
No, I think it just depends on where you want to focus your time because if you want to sell online, then you have to focus your time on marketing, social media, or spend money on ads, which still takes time to figure that out and money. If you don't want to be an online content creator, marketer, whatever person, then you can't sell online. Well, I shouldn't say that. That's refrain from saying absolutes. Because like, say you start an Amazon store and you pay someone to manage your Amazon store, then you can. You don't need to have an influential online presence.
Right.
But you do need to do something.
Yeah. Yeah, and going back to what you said about like you can just sell on social media is like that is honestly the best way or my favorite way is like people will just tell me, I want this. So I just give it to them, give them a price, take care of it on my own. That way I'm kind of cutting
the middleman out.
Yeah, so that's like the best way for me online, but
Although that to me that doesn't feel very scalable. Like,
right.
could you be doing 10 to 50 transactions a day like that? Like, it feels like that has a ceiling.
For sure.
Where
For sure.
yeah, like
but,
all of a sudden you reach a point where like but yes, obviously when you're small batch ceramics like us, it probably is plenty for most people.
Yeah, no, like right now for me it's great. If it were to get crazy, then yeah, I would definitely have to reconsider it. But for now it's great. Do you want to talk about kind of talk about the consulting and workshop?
Oh yeah, another way to sell would be kind of selling yourself or selling your knowledge.
It's like doing workshops, classes.
Yeah, and that's a huge...
Even like individual one-on-one consulting with other...
Right.
So do you have any experience with any of that type of stuff?
Well, so we have a Patreon that we have quite a few Patreon supporters that pay monthly subscription for certain prizes or certain rewards. And some of them are consulting. So I do monthly calls with people about their business or their art or their pottery or whatever. But I don't have a ton of experience in it, here and there. But that's certainly something that I think is a huge opportunity for the future would be to sell like an online course. Like if we kind of set it up where we had a YouTube channel that has like detailed videos, but then we had like an online course with like A to Z, how to start a pottery studio, how to start a business, whatever it is, the topic, that would go really well.
Yeah.
I have, like I did write a book, a few years ago, and that is recurring revenue. So I get a check like once a quarter for the book sales. It's not anything like crazy big, but it's not nothing. So stuff like that is nice. Where like I spent 6 months putting all my knowledge at the time into this book. Really, made it for beginners. So if you're a beginner potter, you can check it out. It's called Practical Pottery. And that was cool. It was a good use of time. I realized I never really want to write a book again. It wasn't that much fun. I just like at the end I was like, I just got to get this done.
Yeah, I think anyway, as an artist, if you can diversify your income is the best. Like if you can have other streams besides selling your stuff, that's like perfect.
Right.
Helps support everything else. Well, and even so, you did the workshop with Kevin Kowalski last year as well.
Yep. Yeah. So basically, got a free soda kiln out of that, which was fun. Met a bunch of cool people. So we had a workshop here where we flew Kevin here to help us build a soda kiln, and then we sold spots in our workshop as like a come help us build a soda kiln, and it was really fun. So 10 people came. They all paid $500. So that was basically $5,000 that we had to pay Kevin and build a kiln. And so that worked out well and was fun. But all that stuff is just a lot of work, Like I think about like, okay, are we going to do that consistently? And it's like, that's just a lot of work. So it just depends on where you want it. Like, where do you want to spend your time,
Right.
Do you want to spend it on coordinating workshops? Do you want to spend it on making pots, getting them, into stores? If you want to spend your time making pots, then maybe it's worth taking a little bit of less money, getting it into stores, versus spending time learning social media and growing a following. Then you can keep all your money, but you got to spend consistent time making content.
Yeah, just time allocation for whatever you think your
Yeah.
interest or best at.
Yeah, another workshop I did, I did a workshop for Mako in Ohio, so they flew me out to Ohio to do like a glazing workshop. That was really fun, so there's opportunity to do stuff, Have you done that kind of stuff? You drove down somewhere last year, didn't you?
Yeah, that was more of just that wasn't really any consulting or anything. It was more just a show and tell type deal. But yeah, I've done a little bit of consulting with people, just their products of pottery and maybe their studio situation or kind of anything like that. But yeah, I don't know. Teaching, I guess, would be my other source of income that's kind of diversified from just selling pots.
Yeah, you've been teaching classes.
Right.
Yeah, right.
So which
is super common for potters and artists to
right.
use their skill, passing it on as a way to supplement their income.
For sure. Yeah, so that's super easy, super fun. But yeah, pretty, yeah, that's about it, I guess.
Well, is there anything else on your list?
I mean, not really. We can just kind of recap what we think are, or what we like the best and why, and then I think we call it good because we kind of covered everything. So I think you just go over quick what you like best and why, and then.
Well, I think they all have different parts to them. It just depends on where you want to spend your time, which I've said a bunch already. Mm-hmm. But in person is fantastic because people get to see the pot, they get to hold the pot, you can interact with the customer. So whether it's at a market or in store, whatever, that's great. Online is awesome because all you got to do is pack it, ship it. You don't need to set up, take down, whatever. But you got to have a following, or you got to have some way that your customers are finding you. Mm-hmm. Which can be difficult and expensive. And the other thing would be custom orders, which provide a lot of challenges. I wouldn't take on custom orders until you're really well experienced and you know what you're doing and you have predictable results. You've fired things many times. And then also giving those expectations to customers, right? You got to let your customer know this may not be exactly what you think it's going to be. I'm not, not God. I can't magically transform glaze into exactly what you're thinking. Like, I have 2 reds and it might be this red or this red. Like, when you go to a paint shop, there's 1,000 reds and 1,000 whites, but that's not what it is in pottery. So you got to make sure with those custom orders and commissions that your customer knows and that you can deliver some sort of expectation, right?
Right.
So what do we got there? Retail, in-store, online, kind of encompasses everything. I'm sure we're not thinking about some things that are related to other industries, right? Like
yeah. Let us know if you have if you're an artist or in any other industry, if you have any other sources of income or revenue that it's different than what we talked about. Just let us know.
Yeah,
be interested to hear about it.
Comment below. Come by the studio this weekend if you want to buy some pots. Otherwise, check out the Mocha website next week when we go live with all of our fresh roasted coffee beans. All right. Cheers. Happy holidays.
See ya.